I received a review copy of Dog Lover from the publisher. All other featured games were purchased at retail. Collect cats by drafting them from a grid. Feed them to score points. Dress them in costumes, feed them catnip, give them toys to play with, and take in lost cats to maximise your score. What? You don't like cats? Well, don't worry, we've got you covered. Collect dogs by drafting them from a grid. Feed them to score points. Take them for walks, let them play with their favourite items, train them to do tricks, and visit a rescue centre to maximise your score. A pair of simple set collection card games for people who are crazy about their pets. That's the hook. I'm Adam Porter. I review games on this channel with a focus on product design. Cat Lady is a 2017 drafting game for 2 to 4 players from designer Josh Wood, who was also the illustrator on the game. Josh was also the designer of Santa Monica, another drafting game from AEG which I really enjoy. With the Box of Tricks expansion, you can play Cat Lady with a wider player count of 1 to 6 players. In Cat Lady, a 3x3 grid of cards is laid out on the table and players take turns to select 3 cards to add to their hand or tableau. You can either take an entire row or an entire column, but once you've done so and refilled the grid, you must place the cat token to indicate that the next player cannot select the same row or column. Collecting cats is the main focus of the game, but they also need to be fed, otherwise they count as negative points at game end. Each cat wants different types of food as indicated on their card, and you gather the food from the grid along with other cards such as toys, which score for sets of different types, costumes, which award points to the player with the most, and catnip, which scores negative points if you only have 1 of them, but is increasingly valuable if you have 2 or more. You can also collect lost cat cards, and if you discard 2 of these, you can collect a stray cat card, which often gives you an additional set collection bonus for having certain coloured cats or some other criteria. When the deck runs out, the highest scorer wins. The Box of Tricks expansion offers up new card types. Boxes, which score points if they're filled with a certain variety of cat. Cat brushes, which allow you to swap a cat with one from the grid. Laser pointers, which allow you to take 2 cards from anywhere on the grid, and treats, which completely fulfill a cat's food requirements but reduce their points value. The expansion also offers up additional modes of play, such as shared objectives between neighbouring players or solitaire rules. Dog Lover is credited with a different designer, David Short, and a different illustrator, Caravan Studio. But it's essentially a variant of the same game. The main distinction is that players can obtain trick cards, which allow them to take a different shaped selection from the grid rather than the default column or row. In Dog Lover, cards are often tucked under your dogs to score additional points at the end of the game, but only if the dog is fully fed. So you might give your dog a walk, or a specific favoured item, a ball, a frisbee, or a doghouse. Traits can be attached to dogs, which increase their points and allow them to break other rules. And as in Cat Lady, you can discard 2 adoption cards to obtain a special dog from the rescue centre with special scoring criteria. And when the deck runs out, the highest scorer wins. Well, let's kick off with outward presentation. And this is simple stuff and it's well executed. Cat Lady features a naive, almost childish illustration of a cat with a blotchy pink watercolour backdrop. It's attractive, it's unassuming, and it's cute. The title, Cat Lady, and the pink branding might limit the game's market a little, but there aren't many games about collecting cats, or at least there weren't in 2017, so any cat owner is likely to find this package appealing. The illustration on Dog Lover is slightly more detailed, but it's still very simple and charming, and the title and colouring are more neutral to attract a broader audience. Both games deliver on their promise. Immerse yourself in all the cute, fun bits of having a pet. We're not dealing with incessant barking, torn sofas, poop on the rug, and extortionate vet bills here. This is an idyllic picture of pet ownership, and it's a very pleasant world to inhabit for half an hour or so. The onboarding process is fine, particularly because the rulebooks are very clear and the cards have text on them to explain how they work. But I do have some minor gripes. As the years roll on, I'm getting increasingly grumpy about sorting a deck of cards before a game starts, particularly removing cards for different player counts. I know that it's often a necessity, but I just want to flag up that it's a barrier. It makes me want to play a game less. I'm less likely to put it off the shelf if there's a lot of busy work up front. So this is a call to designers, and I know this isn't always possible. I've done it in my own designs, and I almost certainly will in the future. But if you're able to, try to make your games shuffle and play. I'm happy to quickly remove 20 or 30 random cards before I shuffle, but I'm less happy to search for a 3+ or 4+ icon at the base of a card hidden in a massive deck. The issue is, of course, compounded with the Cat Lady expansion, which widens the player count to 1 to 6 players. Inevitably, at any given player count, there will be a number of components not in use. And as someone who primarily plays at 2-player with my wife, I was disappointed to find that there was actually very little content in that expansion that we could really use. I use my own ladder engagement system for rating games. I score them between 0 and 3 in 5 categories. An overall score of 10 or above indicates a real favourite with me. For thematic immersion, both games score top marks. It's hugely enjoyable to announce the scoring for your various pets. Al scores 6 points because he's a dirt monster and he's buried 3 bones for a bonus 9 points. Plus I took him for a walk for another 2 points for a total of 17. The narrative in Dog Lover is slightly stronger than in Cat Lady. The dogs are just afforded a little more personality because of the various activities and traits, but both games are really immersive. For player interaction, both games score 1. The game is full of accidental blocking, lots of it. You'll have so much going on in your own tableau of cards that hate drafting, that is taking cards specifically to deprive your opponents, is probably more work than it's worth. Essentially, the interaction is players snapping up cards which you would have liked for yourself, along with a little additional majority scoring in Cat Lady. The Cat Lady expansion increases the interaction a little bit with shared objectives. For stress and challenge, it's a 1. The main stress in the game is trying to gather the right food to feed your dogs or cats so they don't score negative points. But it's largely out of your control. You're dependent on the cards which arrive in the grid on your turn. There are always loads of other things to be getting on with while you wait for that vital can of tuna though, so it always feels breezy. For feedback, the game scores 3. Feedback is when a game talks to you, gives you stuff, and rewards your efforts. Both Cat Lady and Dog Lover are extremely generous in that regard. Where in most drafting games like Sushi Go or Point Salad, you take 1 card on your turn. In Cat Lady, you take 3 cards, and in Dog Lover, you could even take more if you've learned the right tricks. The cards combo nicely, and it's really satisfying to watch your score ramping up throughout the game. For meaningful choices, both games score 1. They're not mindless, but the luck of the draw plays a massive part in proceedings. These are not games for deep thinkers and strategists. The overall score is 9, which brings the games achingly close to the top of my engagement ladder. I was tempted to deduct a point from Dog Lover because I find the weirdly shaped tricks unnecessary. I like the simplicity of Cat Lady's draft. But as an owner of 3 dogs myself, I really love the attention to detail in the storytelling of Dog Lover, so that makes up for the slightly over-engineered drafting. And I also appreciate that AEG needed to do something with the gameplay to distinguish Dog Lover from its predecessor. Moving on to my product design checklist, are Cat Lady and Dog Lover innovative? Well, I'm going with yes. Thematically, they were both at the vanguard of games about their respective topics. There are other cat and dog games out there, but they're few and far between, and Isle of Cats aside, most just don't seem terribly good. Exploding Kittens is of course a mega hit, but it might be a bit too irreverent for some cat lovers. Mechanically, the take 1 column or 1 row system used in Cat Lady is exceptional. It's so smooth and intuitive. If I recall correctly, it's based on a draft system used by Magic the Gathering players, but nonetheless, it's something I hadn't seen before in a tabletop game, so it feels really fresh. Do these games fulfill a need? Yep, that's exactly what they do so well. They're the perfect gift. If someone has a cat or a dog, this is an ideal present for them. Simple enough for anyone to play, with loads of cute animal fun and humour. There was a massive gap in the market for these products, and AEG spotted it and filled it masterfully. The best products grow with their user, so is that possible here? Well, I don't think there's a lot to explore in the games. They tend to feel very similar each time you play, which is perfectly fine for a casual player, but it might limit long-term appeal for a more committed gamer. The Cat Lady expansion added some nice new options and extra content, but it also felt a bit bloated because the base system was so slick and streamlined. I think the games are best as self-contained experiences, and opportunities for growth are probably more in sequels and the creation of a range of animal-based card games. And we're moving on to the branding really, but AEG has started well here. The 2 games sit nicely together on the shelf. Nobody needs to own both, but I'm happy to take my pick depending on whether my group is made up more of dog lovers or cat ladies. I could certainly see scope for a rodent-themed version, or exotic pets, or even go big and produce a zookeeper edition. So all that remains is to plot the games on my idea execution matrix. Best-selling games have an exceptional core concept, coupled with outstanding execution by publisher and designer alike, pushing them into the warmer red-orange part of the grid, while disappointing products will be in the cooler blue section and likely to have mediocre sales. Cat Lady was a great idea, as was Dog Lover as a worthy sequel. There's a market for this stuff. And the execution is great too, both in terms of rules clarity, presentation, and plain old fun. The games are a little bit more fiddly than other drafting games of this weight, such as Sushi Go and Point Salad, and increasingly so when you incorporate expansion material. There's just a lot going on with all the cubes and cards laid out everywhere. And it doesn't help that the cubes don't really match the colour of the food icons, especially in Dog Lover, and that can cause some confusion. As simple as this stuff seems to regular gamers, for the average casual player, Dog Lover, with its 3 different markets, standard cards, tricks and rescue centre, could seem pretty complex. Regardless, the games sit right up in the warmest section of my grid. I've no doubt that they're doing very well indeed for AEG and will become perennial favourites for many years to come. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please watch some of my others on the channel, subscribe, comment, hit like, and I'll see you next time. Until then, all the best.